How's it going, everyone? We are back on the Juice, Central New York's party station. Z89, Harrison Singer here, Aisha Sacco.
What's up?
What's up? Jack keeps telling me to move back. All right, anyway. So, the two of us are joined by a very special guest on the Juice. We have one of my good friends, Mathias Oni-Eseleh, and I'm talking to him about the ongoing events right now going on in Nigeria, but all across the world involving the End SARS protests. SARS is a law enforcement unit in Nigeria that's been the subject of a great deal of protests, and understandably so. And Mathias, you have certain affiliations to the stuff going on in the story, certain personal experiences that you've seen that relate to a lot of the current ongoing events. My first question is, how are you on this fine Tuesday morning?
I really appreciate you having me on today.
Hey, absolutely. I mean, we're always kind of hanging out and just talking about this stuff inadvertently, right? So,
let's
to bring it on the airwaves is definitely a treat for me. So thank you for coming. But,
thank you.
So, I mean, talk to me. First thoughts as you've seen these protests unfold and the events.
Yeah, what's going on is really crazy. I mean, as a Nigerian, parents are from Nigeria. Dad came in '89. Mom came in '90. My parents are from Edo State. It's in the southern part of Nigeria. My tribe is Ishan and Ora, the two very, very small ethnic groups. Not one of the three main ethnic groups. It's not Yoruba, Hausa, or Igbo. So we come from a very small traditional background in Nigeria with very strict traditions and rich culture. And what's really going on is something that's been going on for decades in Nigeria. Me being a Nigerian, it's not something I'm surprised that's happening. It's just the fact that this is the first time it's being brought to the attention of the world, and this is the first time I'm seeing the Western world actually care about things that are going on in my country. So it's kind of almost gives me a smile that now people from outside of Nigeria actually care about what's going on. So it's almost like a bittersweet moment that's happening right now in Nigeria.
So, can you explain exactly what is SARS and exactly what are people demanding for in Nigeria?
So, SARS is basically a unit of the Nigerian police force. So, in Nigeria, the police force is ran by the federal government, unlike in America, where you see police is ran by the individual states. The Nigerian police force is federalized, right? So SARS is a unit within the police force that focuses on armed robberies and things of that nature, right? So the reason why you see all the commotion and SARS in the news is because SARS attacks certain groups of people, which mostly focuses on young boys with dreadlocks between the ages of 18 to 25, and mostly men who drive nice cars and have certain things. So the best comparison for viewers who are familiar with New York City stop and frisk policy they had a couple years back, that's the closest thing I can compare SARS to, where they're going and officers are deliberately targeting certain members of society.
So one thing that was brought up in one of our conversations about this, I think it was yesterday, was a lot of times when you were telling me, like in your personal encounters too, also it was either friends of yours or relatives of yours that have been driving on the street and have been stopped by SARS officers. A lot of what you were telling me, correct me if I'm wrong, please, but from what we discussed, a lot of it is the nature of it is SARS officers will come up and almost target people because they're not being like they have these jobs, I guess technically, but they're not being paid. Like they're almost stealing to live from people, right? But yet they're still part of a government-operated police system. It seems like a broken system. But I was wondering what you had to say about the dynamic like that.
Yes, the dynamic is very strange, Harrison. Like some of these police officers, I have some family members throughout time who've been involved in the police force. Like my grandfather, who was a pastor, had 15 siblings, and one of his younger brothers was a police chief in Lagos, and this was in the 50s, 60s, and even back then, they could go a couple months without getting paid.
Absolutely.
Now it's the same sort of system where some of these police officers can literally go a couple months without receiving a paycheck from the government.
Now, but
Funds are not allocated. A lot of different politics go on.
so as that is the case, are these officers, I guess, though, and SARS was just recently, very recently disbanded. So I mean, we'll get into that in a sec. But what you're saying about, we were just talking about, they still have these government administered like weapons and stuff, do they?
Yes.
So
of course.
so they have these weapons, and whatever police officer in Nigeria, SARS officers are equipped with, yet they're not being compensated. You know what I mean? Like it's
it's almost no system, Harrison.
right. Yeah.
It's almost no system.
Recently, I guess the protest led to the disbanding of SARS. Now, people still continue to protest because even though the department, which stands for the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, like you said, it's an anti-robbery based unit. Even though that's disbanded, people like these officers, I guess, have not been held accountable. Not all of them are being fired. So calls for action for in that regard continue. What's kind of going on with that?
Yeah. So basically, all the officers within SARS units have just been reassigned to different police units within the Nigerian police force. So none of these officers have been tried, convicted of anything. So they're still out here roaming the streets, policing, and still harassing people without any sort of accountability for what's happened throughout the last couple of weeks. So that's really angering protesters.
Absolutely.
If you see, most of the protesters are all, kids our age, between the ages of 15 to 25, just in the streets protesting for the right to really get a lot of these officers out the streets.
Oftentimes, it's people with dreadlocks that are targeted. Why would that be the case? Why does that happen?
I think it's more of an historical thing where a lot of young boys you see with dreadlocks are some of them are just like in the streets making money, hustling.
Right.
Like I remember my father told me, my father came to America in I think 88, Reagan was still president, so he came in like 88, 89. And I remember him telling me one time how a lot of the boys you see who are in the streets hustling and money laundering or just doing sort of illegal things, a lot of them just happen to have dreadlocks. So maybe we can call it like a little official sign of, what I'm saying, you're doing your thing out there, making money,
Right.
making naira,
Still a
doing well for
generalization.
yourself. Yeah,
I
so
think-
more of a generalization.
I think it's goes back into stereotypes about black men with dreadlocks and how that's more of a westernized stereotype that's created by the oppressors. But I do have one question I wanted to ask you. Do you think that you can be able to reform SARS, or if any reform policies would actually work? Or do you think that SARS or law enforcement needs to completely be removed in Nigeria?
That's a fantastic question. I'm really happy you're asking me that question. My thoughts on law enforcement in Nigeria is I don't believe this SARS move, just because of the structure of Nigeria. I mean, you're talking about a country that was colonized for 300 years by the Portuguese, by the British, a country where there was over 30 ethnic groups who all got munched in one, who still to this very day, there's a lot of ethnic conflict going on within our borders where we can't even have a sit down with each other and discuss each other. I think the best action forward for Nigeria would be just completely disbanding the police force and creating a new modern system that has some sort of accountability for officers within it. I don't believe the same SARS system or the same police force we have in Nigeria can exist in a way you're talking about where it'd be fine and injustices wouldn't happen. We would need a whole new police force.
Now, speaking about having a whole new police force, another question I wanted to ask was, you said you were surprised that people in the Western culture are now aware of the SARS protests going on in Nigeria, but I wanted to ask you, do you think that westernized countries like the United States can actually speak on issues in Nigeria and actually help Nigeria when they're going through a crisis themselves of racial disparities and law enforcement problems?
I definitely think they should, and I think they can. Believe it or not, Nigeria and a lot of African countries have a lot of great respects for America and the British and a lot of Western countries, to the point where if the United States of America maybe sent an ambassador or President Trump made some sort of statement towards
What's going on?
towards what's going on in
Right.
Nigeria, that our president in Nigeria, Muhammad Buhari, would definitely take it serious just because of the fact that America's a very respected country to Nigerians. So I think if we could at least get a statement from a United States official, which there hasn't
Right,
been any
someone's
sort of
gotta call
response
out,
at all,
yeah.
that the federal government in Nigeria would take that extremely serious.
Yeah. So I was curious. From what I understand, either you, your dad, family members have some prior experiences while being in Nigeria with SARS. I was wondering, in as much detail as you're willing, what the heck happened when you were
Yeah,
there?
I think my dad's listening too. So basically, when we were in Lagos, probably 2004, 2005, riding in Lagos, and so basically in a lot of parts of Africa, because there's terrorism going on, there's various checkpoints within cities. So we're in Lagos, which is the most industrialized city in Nigeria. Like it's the most booming city. Like it's our New York City. So we were riding around, and we get to a checkpoint. And they tell my father to pull over. One of the officers.
You're in the car.
I'm in the car. I'm young. Yeah, I'm young. Two siblings.
Yeah.
Older sister Alexis and my twin Mercer. So we're just in the car. I don't think my mom's there. I don't really remember. My mom might have been there. So the officer tells my father to pull over, right? He rolls up. My dad rolls down the window. So in Nigeria, we speak this language called Pidgin English, right? And Pidgin English is a mixture of Yoruba,
Portuguese.
English, and Portuguese,
Yeah.
right? So he's speaking to my father in Pidgin English, and he goes, "Oga, bele de pepe me." So basically what that means is, I'm hungry, I haven't ate, I haven't been paid. So he takes his weapon, which is an AK-47,
Jeez.
he points it at my father's head and basically tells him to give him what he can. And my father gives him about probably like the equivalent of like $100 to $200. And then the officer took the gun out of my father's head, and we went a better way. But I mean, my father didn't even think anything of it. That's just a regular thing that occurs in Nigeria. So
Oh,
it was just a regular thing.
and you said too there was an instance, whether it was you or it might have been a cousin of yours, was somebody driving on the road, and what appeared to be like a nice car, and was pulled over.
Yeah.
The special anti-robbery squad that we're talking about, pulling people over on the road, isn't that also outside of their realm of responsibilities?
It is, but also, like we said, my cousin fit the description. Young, in a nice vehicle, the perfect target for a SARS officer, which is he fit one of the profiles of somebody they'd pull over. So they pulled him over. They told him to call his mother. The officer spoke to his mother, told the mother to take down his account details, his account number, and to transfer him money in order to let my little cousin go.
That is absurd.
Yeah, because I was doing research because I'm from Mali, and there's crisis also going on in Mali and other parts of Africa as well. But doing research on SARS, I noticed that a lot of the testimonials, a lot of people are saying when they stop me, they ask for money, or they try to not bribe you. They try to gain money, extort you for money. And so I'm thinking the reason why they're stopping people with these nice cars and who fit the description is because obviously if you see somebody with a nice car, you're going to think that they have money. So this is not, and I noticed a lot of SARS officers, they call the younger generation, the people from 18 to 25, that they're lazy and that that they don't do nothing for themselves. And so it's just, this issue is more of extorting people for money and kind of just antagonizing younger people. And it's just ridiculous. And it's crazy that the Western countries are just now finding out about this.
It's definitely been a time, I think, where problems all around the world, the voices that are advocating on behalf of them are being amplified. And I think that's definitely been, I mean, the ultimate positive change would be for get rid of the problems that people have to advocate for. But
Right.
at least as far as a step by step is concerned, at least those voices have been heard more often. Also, one thing from I guess my entry level or outside perspective understanding is a lot of these officers too, like will cut deals, going along the lines of the money issue is a lot. I think one thing you mentioned to me yesterday was how a lot of these officers will cut deals to carry out illegal activity. They're similar to the Rampart scandal that happened literally in Los Angeles, in the 90s, the LAPD. So is that something that goes on?
100%, very similar to that. I mean, Nigeria is a place where safety is actually one of the biggest concerns. So in Nigeria, if you go to any major city, and even most villages, right, a middle-class family, every single person has a gate. Everybody's house is gated. So in Nigeria, we have, our gate man is called Magad, right? And Magad is usually ran by somebody from the Hausa tribe, right? And the Hausa tribe is one of the largest tribes in Nigeria, right? If I had to make a comparison about the Hausa tribe, I'd compare them to, let's say, like our Italian Americans or our Russian Americans, where, rich in culture, very loyal. A lot of movies are like, if there was one comparison, I'd compare the Hausas to like the Italian mobsters. Like, I'd give them that comparison where they usually run the security department, because the gates in Nigeria, they're not electric. They're usually operated by one gate man that stays there all night. Or maybe there's two of them and they take turns. So, and
people take measures like to live in areas like this, and also I guess the government took a measure to implement the unit of SARS, because there are a lot of armed robberies in Nigeria, right? Is that true?
So many.
Yeah.
So many.
So what's up with like the government, the governmental structure? I know there's 3 branches of government there. What is could you say, because I remember there's also a Corona care package that I guess was not spread. The love of the Corona package that was meant to be spread around the country and dished out wasn't, and there was a huge revolt from Nigerian citizens about that, turning on their government. So there seems to be a repetitive trend of the government kind of letting down citizens. I'm wondering, is there even much of a government structure like for all these things to keep happening? Like,
the government structure in Nigeria is very strange. So we do have, like you said, 3 branches of government, but just the overall structure, a lot of politics come into play. Remember, Nigeria is a country with over 60 ethnic groups. So you can only imagine the type of politics that get played with ethnic groups. And he's from my tribe, he's from your tribe. I need a tribal man in my seat. Like a lot of. And also, you have to realize, in Nigeria is the only country in the world that has a Christian majority in one part, a Muslim majority in one part, and then they have Sharia law in a very small percentage of the country.
Up in the very north,
Up
right?
in the very north, we have Sharia law in I believe 3 states. Very, very strict Sharia law.
Are those all like communities that are there is Islamic communities.
Yes, Islamic communities, and they practice Sharia law, but the whole rest of the country doesn't. So it's a very strange.
Yeah.
But then federal laws won't apply to where they're sure. So it's a weird dynamic of laws and legal systems that nobody really understands, or it doesn't really make sense.
Yeah.
Definitely some reform needs to happen.
Hopefully change is definitely underway. Obviously they did disband the SARS unit. The aftermath remains to be seen. The aftermath, I think a lot of people would say, hasn't been adequate because, like you mentioned, people are still from SARS, even though the unit was disbanded, people are still seeping into other units of the police force. And there have been documented videos that have gone around and just seemingly countless instances of brutality and abuse of force, power. And there's just what seems to be a widespread lack of accountability, as if like the government almost is like happy that it was going on. It almost seemed like, you know what I mean? Like, and it's just a crazy situation. It's just a crazy situation because if they're getting hooked up with weapons to enforce the law and they're not getting paid though to enforce the law, it's a recipe for disaster. And the fact that goes hand in hand with the government not holding them accountable is definitely sketchy. Like,
Yeah.
no doubt.
Mm-hmm.
And also another issues you pointed out when we were speaking last night. SARS is something that's been disbanded before. It's been disbanded probably 3 or 4 times in the past, but it always comes back. So that's another issue Nigerians have, where once the spotlight is gone, it just comes back. And
does that happen when they'll get disbanded and armed robberies go back up after the fact? Ugh.
Yes, exactly. It'll just come back.
It definitely feels like the Nigerian government's just not addressing the overall situation. Like,
Right.
like we were just some stuff like that. See, and I don't want to take anything at all away from but there are injustices kind of similar in nature, at least all around the world, and it's I mean, a good thing that voices in these places where there's oppression going on are being amplified. Finally being, like you said, the Western world's finally hearing about this. It might have taken too long to this point, but
Yeah, I think the problem with westernized countries, especially in the United States, is that I think I mentioned this before, but we don't know anything that goes on in other countries because westernized culture is only focused on westernized culture.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you don't do your research or if you are not willing to learn about other injustices and crises in other countries, you won't know nothing at all. So it's good that we have people here to speak on issues all around the countries because it is happening in the United States as well.
No doubt about it. No doubt. And yeah, on that note, I mean, it's definitely hopefully things do improve. I think there is a stark difference between being an American citizen, kind of things we might learn in schools and whatever, and being good, but then also being a citizen of the world where there's over 7 billion people that live on it, not just a country of 330 million, and just the differences, all the kinds of differences. As cliche as it sounds, the world has so much to offer, so many different kinds of people in it, and we'd be just so much better served, kind of just doing our best to love one another. But easier said than done, I suppose. So yeah, I guess wrapping up here on this topic. Is there anything else worth mentioning that we haven't covered? Because I think it's definitely something that important enough to.
I think we hit the nail.
Yeah.
I think we hit the nail on everything.
I'm glad.
Thank you for sharing. That was great.
So much. Thank you.
Definitely thank you for having me, Harrison.
Oh, God. Absolutely. I'll see you later tonight.
For sure.
Anyways, we're going to head back to the music. We got some Kid Cudi. He might be dropping a new album, which is ironic because we're going to be talking some music when we get back. New music, upcoming music, and Cudi might have something on the way. So stay tuned.